Brother Michael and I tried to follow the rule of St. Benedict, which was written in the 6th century. And as I've told you probably before, I think the rule of Benedict is written for weak Christians to keep them in line. It lines up when you should pray and when you should work, when you should study the Bible. And one of the things Benedict says in his rule is, keep death daily before your eyes. When I first read the rule centuries ago, I thought that was kind of morbid. But as I get closer to death, I find it rather salutary. Not out of fear, I hope, but out of expectation. But if Benedict was writing his rule in this century, in this year, he certainly probably could have skipped that advice, because we are constantly being reminded of death, such as this week in Miami. And if the evening news would tell us what it says it's going to tell us, they say it's international news, but of course, most evenings, nothing that happens outside the borders of this country is ever mentioned. And yet people are dying in the droves, not by natural causes, but by war, and by famine, and by insurrection, and by murder in our own streets, in our own cities. So keeping death before our eyes, which is the theme, I think, of the readings today, keeping death before our eyes is not only helpful and salutary, but it's also a reality which we face each day. But the gospel of Jesus, the good news of Jesus, which he taught not only by word, but by the deeds which he did today with the dead girl, the gospel tells us that death doesn't have the last word. It is not final. I came that you may have life and have it in abundance. Well, just experientially, if Jesus was telling us he just wanted to have an abundant life now, he certainly got it all wrong, because many people don't live abundantly even though they're the followers of Jesus. But he was talking about not only life now, but the abundance of life when he takes us to the Father. And that's the reason, really, why we gather week after week to celebrate the Lord's Supper. Because it is in the Eucharist that we are strengthened by consuming the living Christ, the risen Christ, the one who has conquered death for everyone and began by conquering death in his own flesh. We live lives that trust that he told us the truth, and we commune with him each Sunday in Holy Communion so that our trust in him will be strengthened, and the risen life which he already has will be shared with us. The Eucharist isn't just a memory of something in the past, although we do need to remember what he did and what he said, but it's an experiential experience now in the present. We meet the risen Lord in the sacrament of the Eucharist. There is a wonderful prayer, I think it was composed by Thomas Aquinas in the 1300s, and it goes like this, and it describes exactly what happens and what we are doing now on this Sunday morning. O sacred banquet in which Christ is received, the memory of his passion renewed, the mind we are filled with grace, and a pledge of future glory is given to us. The Eucharist is the down payment on unending life, because the one we receive in the Eucharist has already conquered death and lives eternally, unendingly, always in the presence and with his Father. And that's the life he wants to share with us. There was a man very controversial in his day, Norman Mailer, who once said, I'm not sure this was sarcasm or what, irony, he said, I will be very surprised if there were no life after death. We won't be surprised, will we?